Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Welcome in, guys. We are back for another episode of Blinkers Off. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, January 16th, dude, and we are starting the 20-point races this weekend with the Lecomte. We have the Pegasus coming up after this, and then the Southwest, and then really it's just all hands on deck here. But we have a legit race this weekend that is going to showcase, I think, at least one or two legit Derby horses.
Yeah, couldn't have been more bored last week, and now it's fun until the rest of and really all through until September. Now it's every week is going to be fun. I know I was sitting around Saturday watching the little races that we had to watch, thinking this sucks, and then the Lecomte field came out, and then the Lecomte card came out, and I thought, yeah, now this feels like we're back officially, So it's this weekend is awesome down at Fairgrounds. There's really good racing all over the country, too, because some tracks are trying to make up for missing time. So you got big fields, big cards. And then, like I said, then obviously the unofficial kickoff to 2025 and every year is the Pegasus. So 2 big weekends in a row here. And I really 3 when you count the 4 preps the next weekend or 3 preps. So it's awesome.
I got to show this on the screen here. If you're watching this live, this is what's wrong with why you have to be careful with quote unquote insider tips. The jockey said this, the barn said this, the owner said it can't lose. So while we were waiting ready for the show, you can hop into the YouTube live there and you can still comment and do things like that. Well, Jeff, and I'm not singling you out, Jeff, because it happened. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Bauer says, your house is on Admiral Dennis. Trust me, I'm from Iowa, and Dennis Allball says he's loaded. Dennis Allball owns Admiral Dennis.
Right.
Kevin responds with, Admiral Dennis is scratching to run Monday.
Yeah.
And yes, DRF reported it. So it just, maybe he meant Monday, Jeff? I don't know. But it just, that's an owner who's saying this horse is loaded, and the owner is making the decision to scratch and run on Monday. Just got to be careful with the info you get and do with it what you will.
There's 3 comments I'll make. Number 1, the owner could be absolutely right. That horse could romp Monday. So that's number 1. He could romp and he's fine. Number 2, never trust the guy that says trust me. And number 3, never trust the guy that says I'm from Iowa. So it was a triple threat there, right? So
well, the sad reality is you've been in the game long enough. We've been in the game long enough that I don't. Even the guys that are literally got hand on horse, touching horse to tell me something, I still don't. I take it with a grain of salt, right? You get it. You stay in it long enough. You've seen enough tips, quote unquote tips that turn out not to be tips whatsoever, or vice versa to say, hey, this horse can't run for shit, and then the horse goes and wins. We've seen that.
I would say the 2 people that we are connected with the best and have the most information that isn't hearsay, information straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yeah, almost
they
literally.
Probably combined in the last 3 years have given us 0 winners.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good one.
I can't think of one in the last 3 years and these are people that actually understand and know what they're talking about. I haven't, and not only have they not given, quite the opposite has happened. A lot of the times, and they're not.
The only really good info we've gotten is when a horse is for instance, well, I don't want to. When a horse is this horse is probably not going to run, kind of thing.
Yes, true.
Hey, just so you know, this horse is not going to run in the Derby.
Yes.
He's not going to, so info like that is helpful for sure.
Yes,
because you have that insider info. But at the end of the day, guys, they're horses. They're going to go out and run and not run, and we really have no idea. Fiercest is a great example of that because you never knew what he was going to do. The owners, the trainers would tell you he's not gonna, he's not very good. We don't know what he's going to do. And he'd win, and then you'd look like a favorite. You can't miss. So the horse was just it's just what it is. Like I don't want to throw shade at Admiral Dennis because would I be surprised? I could say he ran in this race. He's not. We've learned, but if he was if he won, would I be surprised? Yes, but I wouldn't be overly surprised. It's like
No.
he had a really bad effort the last out, but he rebounded and came back, and it's so you get. I think you stay in it long enough, you don't really get too surprised with those kind of horses.
The funniest thing about this whole exchange, Jeff Bauer admits that he doesn't know Dennis Albaugh, which is funny. But do you know somebody that could get like what Dennis Albaugh actually thinks about Admiral Dennis? One text, and I could know what they think about that horse. But do you know who hasn't done that? This guy. Do you know why? Because I can't listen to that shit.
Yeah.
Because they've told me for years about horses they're going to be good, and hardly any of them actually end up being that good.
Well, it's gonna you just know their answer. It's like, oh, they really like them. They don't know really what happened last time.
And it's not a knock on the Allbaws. Everybody's like that. The owners always love their horses, and some of them do indeed turn out to be great, and most of them don't. And that's just with any big outfit because it's hard to get one that's really good. So
I can probably count on one hand how many times over all the years we've been in this from talking, whether it be talking to like a low level owner that, say you basically,
right,
that had like just a small percentage of a claiming horse, or the Zayats, anywhere in between. Like I can count on one hand probably how many times someone's been like, nah, this horse sucks. Like this horse is not going to win, sometimes they might say, well, I'll be surprised if he wins, but I expect him to run pretty well, kind of thing. They
100%.
never say like, this horse is just awful. I don't know why we entered him in here. It's like one hand I can count on how many times that's happened.
And I have a very realistic trainer, and he's a friend, not just the trainer. So he will shoot me straight. And I've heard, once in about 4 or 5 years of having horses with them, have I heard that they're not doing very well one time. So it's just what it is. And even that time, I don't think the trainer told me. I think the son told me. We went out and watched them gallop once, and one of them looked great, and one of them looked like shit. And I said, Kelby, I don't know much about horses, like watching them and how they're moving. I said, he looks like shit. He's like, he looks so bad. It's unbelievable. He said, I don't know what is going on. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I don't know. I mean, we guess you never know who people know. I mean, all balls not necessarily I know a lot of people that know the all balls. So it's, I guess I assumed, but it wasn't, there was no, you gotta put a laugh face or an LOL or something if you're gonna, I mean, the way I read it was, although trust me, I guess, as Halterman said, could have been the key word there.
Well, yeah, I didn't believe him anyway, but it is a good talking point. It was a fun way to waste 8 minutes. So thank you, Jeff, for that.
Yeah, exactly. We had nothing really to talk about.
No.
So I used your comment as a way to pivot from that. And we will use that now to head on to today's show, because we have a big show lined up here. And again, it is a big race this weekend. We're going to look at the $250,000 Lecomte Stakes. This is a prep race, the first 20-point prep race of the 2025 season for the 2025 Kentucky Derby. Then we're going to look at 2 Kentucky Oaks prep races, one at Fairgrounds, one at Aqueduct. And then we're going to give another look at the this is what we're going to do every week. Sometimes some weeks might be more detailed and have a lot more info. Other weeks might be a little light. We're going to look at the Derby contenders. We're going to look at the upcoming trail. We're just going to keep updated every week as we get closer to the first Saturday of May. Let's go. Guys, this is a hell of a race. Kevin, I know you're tuned in for this. You're geared up. This is the first. We had Barnes, but that was not a points race. This is the first big race for us in the league, for sure. Really for everybody, because it's a 20-point race. What's the points in our league worth? Is it
20 points? Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, it's a big race.
It's not the first, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you win this, and not to mention you have horses in here, like, I mean, really all of them, frankly, built, I guess, is somewhat established, I guess, but still, like, they're all trying to make a case for being legit horses.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of those races. There's some of them they're going to jump up and we're going to take serious, and there's some of them be like, he was phony, So
yep. Saturday at Fairgrounds, race number 12. This is Lecomte Stakes. It's a grade 3. We're $250K going 1 1/16 miles for the 3-year-olds, and it is a 20-point Kentucky Derby race. 20, 10, 6, 4, 2 for your top 5 finishers. So you win here, and you are getting yourself really close to getting into the starting gate the first Saturday in May. And you got a large field here of 14. Looks like at least one's going to scratch with Admiral Dennis, as we've established. But so say 13 running in this race, and really, like I just mentioned, it's Built is your 3-1 favorite, 9-2 on Disco Time. But the bottom line of this race, Halterman, is they're all coming in here trying to make a case that they are legit Derby horses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you talked about Built as we opened up the show about how he might be a little bit more established than the others because he did win the gun runner. But yeah, the rest of them are kind of just trying to get that big stakes win and kind of get that thing started. We've seen some of them against Stakes Company. We've seen some of them just in maiden and allowance races. So it's the first kind of proving ground, which is typical for this time of year at Fairgrounds or really any track. You're looking to try to establish yourself. And so you kind of have that mix of horses. It's of like, okay, who had the big maiden win? And then who's one other than a maiden race? And then you kind of go from there. So, and you got your usual suspects. You got Steve Asmussen, you got Brad Cox, you got Kenny McPeak, so they're all here. You got Lucas with the random one thrown in there. It is a puzzle, this race. I think it could end up at the end of the day, we look back and we go, yeah, that was pretty simple. We could have seen that. Or we could look back and go, well, that's Fairgrounds for you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, just because Innovator has been kind of throwing his name around with some of these, these races, like, and it's Lucas. So, we have that kind of, but Innovator, I guess Magnitude, maybe just because of the connections, past that Disco Time and Built, really those are the ones that I would say, and and you probably will disagree with Innovator, but I only mean it because he kind of already is on the Derby trail because it's D-Wayne.
Yeah.
But that kind of like, hey, they win, like, okay, that's what I thought they would be. They'd be continue going. But a lot of these other ones, and really a lot of pressure is built, say on a horse like Disco Time that is coming in off of just 2 races, and both of them were lights out performances, but he still has to step up here. And when a horse has that kind of hype, that kind of those with the connections, Juddmonte, Brad Cox, the buildup is there, but you expect a big performance by not just looking at this horse specifically, but any Brad Cox horse of this nature coming into this race.
Yeah, I think he's the one that's easily you point to and go, well, this race could be very simple. He could just be better than everybody else. And his 2 races have been really good. I kind of thought after his maiden, he would go to a stakes next out. Didn't do it, went to an allowance. So they're kind of taking the build him up approach, which I like. There was no need to rush him into a stakes race there on Kentucky Jockey Club is where he would have fit in if they opted for that. They opted for allowance on the same day to kind of say, okay, this is where we're going. We're going to Fairgrounds, and we'll see what happens. So I think he's the easy route here. I think the number 11 Disco Time's the pick, or the number 13 Built, because you saw what he could do against a weaker field, but still he dominated that field by 6 lengths. So
yeah.
It very well could be very easy. It's the 11 or it's the 13. I'm not going to be shocked if they win. I'm going to use them on everything because I just feel like, yeah, that makes a lot of logical sense.
Do you think there's any way that, I tried to talk myself into the 4 Magnitude to kind of turn the tables. And I think if the race would have been closer last time out, I could have maybe gotten there. Yeah. But it's just, that was such a dominating effort by Built, that last effort. It's like hard to imagine that Magnitude could basically turn the table 7 lengths here. He's bred to go long, but of course has gone this long the last 2 efforts as well.
May just not be good enough. That's kind of where I landed on him. Even last time I didn't play him because I thought, I don't think he's great. There's not a race you can really point to and go, okay, we're seeing what we can get out of him. Maybe he's better than what we've seen. Like, he just seems kind of average to me. So I couldn't get to magnitude. I did take a decent look at him. I took a decent look at the 2 Dallas Stewart runners. I wouldn't be shocked, but I couldn't quite get there. You mentioned Innovator. He's interesting because he's by Authentic out of an Unbridled Song mare. So you look at the pedigree and you go, well, this horse is stretching out for the first time today.
Yeah.
This could be the horse. Then you think about it and you go, okay, why in the hell has he sprinted 7 times? And then number 2, go back and watch his races. Like, how is he even going to get 7 furlongs again? Yeah. Like his 7 furlong races, he got tired in. Like, how's he going to get a mile? How's he going to get a mile on the 16th? It's like, he doesn't look like a horse that wants to go long. So he's kind of an enigma a little bit too. Long story short, I rounded back to the 2 Maximum Promise quite a bit. I did not want to go with the favorites here on top. I just have a feeling we're going to see an upset. This horse debuted on the turf and then went to the dirt second start and won by 14.5, geared down, obviously. I think this horse has a lot of talent. And at 10-1, I thought he was the right price. I put Maximum Promise on top.
That's an interesting play. I looked at this horse for a long time, and really it's hard to not after the horse debuts on the turf, doesn't run well, and then McPeak after had a hell of a year obviously last year, switches the horse over to the dirt, just absolutely rolls, wins by 14 lengths, but we haven't seen since. That was in August, so you got the layoff to kind of contend with, but as a guy that loves to play McPeak at somewhat of a 6-7-1 or higher, like this feels like a horse that if you're gonna play him, this is probably the time to play him. You kind of wonder in this race too. There's and we do see this a lot at this stage of the 3-year-old campaigns and really 2-year-olds as well. But kind of have to figure out like there's a lot of speed, right? A lot of ones if you're looking at the past performances. Who do you think who do you expect to be on the lead in this race, and how do you kind of, if you're picking the 2 here, or at least you're leaning towards that way, like how do you what's the best trip for him in order to get the job done?
Gate to wire. No, that's why I've got him on top. I think he can take him gate to wire. I think he's the fastest horse in the race early. In a field of 14, well, now 13 with Admiral out, I think get to the front and take him. I think going along at Fairgrounds, you want to be towards the front, and that's, I would send him. Now, I think the problem might become if the 1 sends as well. You may maybe just sit off the 1 a little bit. Don't get in a speed duel 1-2 out there, but I would send the 2, and I know the 11's going to be stalking, and then we'll see what happens. That's the way I look at it. And then I think then you're looking at the next wave being built, Tough Catch, Dapper Moon, that kind of group, magnitudes there as well, kind of being the next flight. But I see Maximum Promise going to the front in this one.
Yeah, with the 11 and 13 drawing outside, you can't imagine, and obviously a lot of speed on their inside. You got to imagine those 2 will not really rush to the lead, but necessarily try to get in a good position. You got flow on the Maui Disco time, so you never really know what you're going to get out of that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see what happens there. He's been on him 2 times, and he did fine, and I think drawing the outside, it's kind of a simple thing. Just ask him for speed early and kind of let him sit where he's going to sit. He's got enough speed. He shouldn't get hung wide as long as he breaks okay. So, but I would be concerned about the trip you might get, to be honest. But I do think it's an advantage. He's rode him twice. And the ride on a horse like this isn't quite it's not complicated, right? Easy for me to say, but it's not he's not a quirky horse. Just get him out in front and see what happens.
Another horse that I looked at for a long time, ultimately couldn't pull the trigger on, is the 8 Tough Catch. And I thought it was interesting that Luis Saez, who has ridden this horse 3 times, including that last Sugar Bowl win, but it opted to ride here. Now, I don't know if it means much riding over Admiral Dennis, or they knew that Admiral Dennis was going to scratch. But still, this horse, he does get the mount again. And, the Sugar Bowl was a nice effort, I thought. Kind of battled, kind of hung in there. Looked like the horse might be in trouble. just kind of grinded and then really never let that horse behind him get close to him towards the end. Kind of wonder though with the distance. That was ultimately my biggest falter, is I couldn't quite get there with the distance and the concerns there.
Yeah, horses by complexity. Obviously, you don't think going along there, a broken vow mare, so a little bit of pedigree on the bottom to maybe go longer. But yeah, he's another one like, 5 races, hasn't stretched out, going to stretch out here. I think it's a really good sign that Saya stays aboard. So I like that. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I like that. I think this was a good horse. I don't know if he wants to go this long. And so ultimately I just didn't consider because of that reason.
So with the 8 seemingly scratching, or I mean the 3 scratching at 8-1, and I'm not necessarily getting a lot of money off the morning line, but I imagine would have taken a little bit of money just off that 8-1. Who do you foresee getting the most money? Do you think it's going to be Disco Time? I think there's a world here where Disco Time does go off the favorite.
I think it'll be close, the favoritism between Built and Disco Time. He's going to take a lot of money, and I don't know if I can sit here and think, well, Maximum Promise, that makes sense. And then Kevin says he saw it early and people are picking him. He's probably going to take money. He's probably going to be like 5-6-1. And then you're going to get like a 5-2, 3-1 situation on Disco Time and Built. That's my guess. Some of these other ones I do think will take a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, those are the 3 that are going to take the money.
All right, let's hear it. Give me your final thoughts and pick of the race.
Yeah, I took Maximum Promise, went back and watched the race at Ellis and thought, man, that is a really, really nice horse. Obviously had some problems, or McPeak kind of would have probably got him in some of the bigger 2-year-old races, but working really well. Just didn't want to take a short price on top. I'm going to put Maximum Promise on top. I am going to use Disco Time and Built as well. The other one I kind of like just a bit is the number 7 Calling Card. I'll probably have him around somewhere as well.
Yeah, give me, no shocker here, but number 11 Disco Time. I've liked this horse for a while, and has made all the right spots and all the right steps, and showing up here. I know the barn, as we've learned earlier in the intro, the barn loves them, so that means everything to me.
Yeah.
And but no, they do love them, and the connections. You don't have to be a genius to figure out with the connections and where they've ran them so far, and obviously showing up here. So give me the 11 Disco Time. I do think whether it be, certainly I think the 11 has the most, if this horse wins, he could be top 2 or 3 choices in the Derby.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the kind of the ceiling for him. The 13 Built, maybe not quite that kind of hype, even with a win here, although I do think the horse would get a lot after that. Those 2 are clearly the 2. But you can't count out a horse like the 4 Magnitude, even just hitting the board, the 2 Maximum Promise, like you mentioned with McPeak after the year he had last year, and the Lucas horse. So I legitimately think that we've got, and we know how good that circuit is at Fairgrounds over the years. It's turned, this is just the first one, guys. So you got to think we're going to see a handful of these horses, whether they continue to run at Fairgrounds or Innovator ends up at Oaklawn or Disco Time ends up at Oaklawn or Kentucky or wherever. You got to think we got a handful of potential Derby horses here, right?
Yeah, I think so. And you look at what we got here, and it's a lot of really good trainers, a lot of guys that'll give horses multiple chances, like you said. And like I said, I do expect 1 or 2 of these to really show up, and at the end of the day, Saturday, we're like, this is like a legit contender. Maybe we don't have them in like a top 10 or 15 or whatever, but at the end of Saturday, we do. And so, I think we could see a couple of these horses ultimately make it to the Kentucky Derby. And we've seen it. The Fairgrounds route kind of used to be laughed at a little bit, but now it's a pretty legit route. So I think this is a good race.
Yeah. Kevin, there's 4 to 5 that could be 2. But honestly, could you see Innovator in the Derby, getting to the Derby?
Yes, only because of the trainer, but I would be a little surprised.
Yeah, it's a fake. I get it.
Yeah.
About Magnitude. Could you see Magnitude getting there?
Yeah, that same. The trainer's gonna give him shots, and maybe he gets lucky and hits the board at a big one. So Magnitude and Innovator, kind of the same kind of outlook.
And Disco Time and Built, obviously, you would think definitely get there.
I could see Dallas Stewart getting one of these horses there. He kind of fits that mold of he's just going to give him shots and maybe they get lucky, in one of these races.
Yeah, I definitely think 2.5. What would you put over under?
I'd still probably go under the 2.5, but I think that's the right. I think it's either 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So I think it's the right number. Yeah.
I think it's 2. I don't know which 2 for sure, but
yeah.
The only caveat would be the under would hit for sure. I think if Disco Time is a bounce, I think a lot of it depends on what Disco Time does here. So again, we'll find out on Saturday. This is the Lecomte Stakes. I'm going number 11, Disco Time. Halterman's going the 2, Maximum Promise. That's going to be a fun one.
Should be a really good race. Really good race.
All right, let's stay at Fairgrounds, but let's head a few races prior. That is race number 9 on the program. It's Silverbulletday Stakes. It is a Oaks prep race. We're going to talk about 2 Oaks prep races here. 2010 642 again for the top 5 finishers in a field of 8 shows up here. And really, you look at the odds. The highest price on the board is 10-1, if it tells you anything, and the lowest price on the board is 3-1. So no clear, huge favorites, and no, legit long shots here, Halterman. This is a complete crapshoot. Where are you going?
It's crazy. I mean, you said it. It is a crapshoot. I don't know. I kind of went back and forth here a lot. I ended up I picked the Peak twice, so this could be bad. But I went number 2, Golden Gamble on top here. Gets Brian Hernandez aboard, and Peak has 3 in the race, but Hernandez is the go-to guy. Look, the race 2 back was elite. I thought it was a very good race. And last time out, came here to run on the Gunrunner card. It was the Untappable Stakes and got beat as the even money favorite. I don't know. I'm not ready to give up on this horse yet. I still think she's pretty good, so I'm going to give another try to the number 2, Golden Gamble. Yeah,
you might be losing your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
You're going for the McPeak sweep here.
This race here, though, it's like, not, the last race, it's like, if like Disco Time or Built wins, I look back and go, well, that was just dumb. This race, I'm not going to feel bad if any of these win. Like this is kind of a crapshoot, like you said.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The horse that I am going McPeak, but I'm not going your McPeak. And I went with more of a price, kind of a standard McPeak that I tend to play. And I kept going, look back to the 6, Gowells, Delight, however you pronounce that. This is an interesting horse off coming, especially considering that he's already got 2 in the race, especially the 2 that's coming in out of a stakes race there. Only coming in off a maiden and throwing her right back into into the deep water here with these and ran a mile 16th on debut and just really dominated. I think that performance probably put her into this race and to give her a shot. I don't know how long she's going to want to go, but being a side by Practical Joke out of Indian Charlie Mare, but we are cutting back here off of that mile and 16th effort. So to me, that's an even better sign that this horse will be able to run well here at this distance. So I kind of like the 6 at 8-1. Any thoughts on that horse?
Yeah, I like that horse as well. I think you got to use it in the exactas and tries. Really good effort, like you said, and it was right here at Fairgrounds. So won at 14-1 that day. So it was not a horse that was heavily hyped, but boy, ran tremendous. So
yeah.
I think it makes total sense to wheel back right here and see what you got. So I don't hate that pick at all.
She looked like a 4-5 shot the way she won the race. I mean, totally. was kind of tucked in behind horses and then cut her, hit the outside and then just ran home and again won by 5 going away. It was nice. Again, it was at Fairgrounds. So give me a shot here at 8-1. I really don't know how these odds are going to play out. I think a lot of people are going to have hard. How are you going to have? Playing the 3, at 3-1, playing the 2. I feel like the prices are going to be spread apart quite a bit. And here we are both going shots against Brad Cox, which I picked obviously in the 3-year-old boys race. Any thoughts on number 1, Chaston?
Yeah, I think Chaston's the one I would play out of Brad's here. Really good debut race at Churchill Downs. I think the horse is meant to do some decent things. I will probably play underneath as well. I'm kind of dancing around the number 3, Simply Joking. I don't know if that horse will actually be favored, but I'm going to try to beat that horse with yours, mine, and Chasten will be in there as well. And then maybe like the 5 or the 7. So yeah, I like the 1. I thought about picking that horse on top. Just the race was good at Churchill. I don't think it was like amazing. Went back and watched it. I mean, there's nothing to hate about it, but it wasn't all that fast. So I think we got to see if she's got another gear to her today.
All right, you're going number 2, Golden Gamble. I'm going, we're going to McPeak Exacta here. I got the 6 Gals Delight. All right, what could go wrong? Let's go to Aqueduct on Saturday as well. This is race number 8. This is Buscanda Stakes. This is 125K, going to 1 1/8 miles for the Phillies 3-year-olds. Again, another Oaks race, 20, 10, 642 for your top 5 finishers. And listen, if that wasn't easy, now we'll head to this one in a field of 9. 5-2 on Ramify for Chad Brown. Is that where you're going? I had a hard time deciding, kind of figuring out if this horse was like the goods or if that just kind of took advantage of like a pace collapse last time.
Yeah, I mean, these races really aren't great that we're talking about here for the Oaks yet. I debated back and forth a lot between this. I did go the number 5 Running Away in this spot. I liked that the 2-turn dirt debut was just a dominant effort right there at Churchill Downs. I think the horse can get out in front here. I think she's going to be faster than everybody else. And I think going a mile and an eighth, if you can get out in front and get comfortable, it's going to be tough to make a run on her. So I went the number 9 Running Away. Not a ton of confidence in this one.
Yeah, it's the 3 Ramify is probably got a nice number that day, probably deserving favorite, but I don't have. You kind of wonder, right? At this, if the horse can do it again. This horse was like 13 links back. I mean, this horse was out of the clouds, and can the horse do it again? Especially going against, I don't know how much tougher, but tougher competition nonetheless. So I ultimately played against as well. And listen, call me crazy. I mean, I don't know the last time a New York Reds won this race, but I'm going the 8, Bernie and the Rose, 12-1, one of the higher prices in the field. But those last 2 efforts were just pretty impressive, really dominating fashion. One time, one gate to wire, one time came off of it. Just clearly way the best in those fields. Now, again, stepping up in competition. But again, there's not a lot in this race. The distance doesn't really concern me too much here. And if the horse can run similar to those races, I think the horse at the very least could hit the board.
Yeah, I think very similar to the 9. This horse just likes to get out in front when stretching out. Last time out, at least, got out to the front and just buried him. The numbers are a little low, but I don't think that makes a huge difference in this race. They're still similar. Look, really nice looking horse. Horses by Accelerate and kind of runs like Accelerate a little bit. So I don't hate that play at all. 12-1. I mean, take a shot, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, 12-1. You are like, there's a given like you said, the numbers are low. Well, yeah, they're lower compared. Yeah. That's why his horse is 12-1. I like the fact that we've seen the 2 races that the horse, the horses on debut didn't run terrible, but the 2 races at the last 2 races the horses won has done it a little bit, has been versatile with it. One time off the pace, and then kicked home. The other time, like you said, went to the lead and never looked back. And so I think the horse does give them options. Again, this is a class test. We'll find out if the horse belongs in this kind of level. But again, like, it's not the greatest. That's not the greatest field. We're talking about the Buscanda in January at Aqueduct. So if it can be done by a New York bred, it's probably here, right?
Right. Yep.
So give me the 8 at a big price, and you're going the 9 Running Away. Yeah, those are not the greatest Oaks prep races.
No, I don't think we're going to see the Oaks winner on Saturday.
I don't think so. No,
probably not going to see the Derby winner either, but I don't think we're seeing the Oaks winner.
Hey, maybe we will. No,
I mean, better chance for the Derby.
Sure. Yeah, well, that is for damn sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a lot of. I'm trying to think of any good horses that have ran. I mean, the Silver Bullet Day typically has at least a couple Oaks like contenders. I feel like
Yeah,
this
the
one necessarily didn't feel like it, but maybe it does.
Yeah, the Fairgrounds route is usually not too bad, or usually good. I should say usually good, but I don't know. Well, I mean, there's some up and comers. There's some horses in that race that it wouldn't shock me if they were decent. Aqueduct, not really. No.
All right, guys, we are about 107 days away from. That's right, I did the math. From the Kentucky Derby, so it's never too early to start talking about the fields and what we have coming up, especially. Halterman, we haven't had a lot happen or change since we talked about it last week, but we kind of wanted to use this opportunity again each week to kind of go through and recap or maybe preview a little bit what's coming up, but. Obviously, next week we do have the Southwest. That's a key race. We'll have more key horses aiming for that. Mm-hmm. But kind of give people a little bit of an update of what to expect, what you're thinking as we are, again, 170 days out.
Well, the Southwest could be an epic race. I think the Lecomte's a very good race. And then I think the Southwest right now, Patch Adams is going to run in the Southwest. And if you've been watching kind of our Derby videos, John White's number one horse is Patch Adams. I've got him in the top 5 as well. So that's a big news that Patch Adams will be there, and gaming is also not rumored but said to be going to the Southwest as well. So next weekend is Pegasus weekend, and everything involved with that is massive and a lot of fun, and that's going to be the highlight card. But don't forget about Oaklawn, because that's a huge race. If we do get gaming versus Patch Adams, that's huge, because you've got gaming on one side trying to rebound. At one time we thought very highly of him. Not as high now, but we'll give him another chance. And then you've got the kind of the up and comer there. So next week's huge. And then the week after, February 1st, 3 preps that day. The Withers up at Aqueduct. And then you've got the Holy Bull down at Gulfstream. And then you go out to Santa Anita for the Robert B. Lewis. And, could we see a Citizen Bull in that race? That's going to be fun to watch as well. So the next 2 weeks specifically, it's starting to take shape. It's really starting to take shape. And, we won't really know until we get to March and those races start. But February is kind of a pivotal month for a lot of these horses.
That Southwest, man, that's going to be a doozy.
It's going to be weird hitting the timeout and saying, forget about the stuff going on at Gulfstream. This is a major race right here at Oaklawn. I know we're kind of used to, it's the Southwest.
Yeah.
In the background, we've got it on while we're covering Oaklawn or covering Gulfstream, but it's definitely stop what you're doing type situation. If we indeed do get Patch and gaming in that race, plus whoever else. Cole Battle, I think, is going to be there as well. So, it's a good race.
Just think you said it, but gaming is just so much riding on that race. What is he? Is he a legit horse? Where is he going to go? His next 3 or 4 months is going to be critical to that race, that performance there, because we talked about it all the time between Barnes or Citizen Bull or even Getaway Car or whoever you want to talk, the routes that, he's got options other places. So if gaming starts to slack, well, no worries. We'll just send him somewhere else. So where he goes from there will be critical. And then with Patch Adams, this is a horse that kind of shocked everybody with where he was taken in the draft, and John White and Ryan passing on a horse like, say, Barnes. They had the second pick, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
And so they took Patch Adams at the second pick. It just goes to show you what John thinks of the horse, and so does it matter? If the horse doesn't win, and say gaming does win, and Patch Adams runs second, no, it's not. It's not life or death. It's not the end of the world. But you do need to see the horse run a big race. Patch Adams has to run a big race in order to kind of live up to that hype moving forward.
I would say if Patch Adams loses the race, he better have an excuse, or gaming better have run really, really well. Because I think, in the grand scheme of things, a loss in late January really doesn't mean a ton, especially trying stakes for the first time and all this kind of stuff. But I think if he does lose and there's not a lot of excuses, and say whoever wins the race was just okay, That's not a good sign at all. So I think it's not a pivotal race for him, but it's a big one where, like you said it best, it is a pivotal race for gaming, because if he sucks again, see ya.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just how it works in the Baffert barn.
You won't be seeing Gaming the Rebel,
No,
let's put it
no.
that way. You'll see,
Yeah.
Citizen Bull or Barnes or whoever
Yeah.
will be down there. So yeah, it's a huge race for Gaming. Again, Sandman's not a terrible horse either.
No.
I like Sandman, a horse that I had on a lot of my for the draft board. And then you've got who else? Dwayne Lucas throwing in the horse in there as well. So American Pharoah horse. So it's certainly not a bad field whatsoever, considering who we have. What like you said, you typically the Southwest, you say, well, who cares really? I mean, at the end of the day, you're not really too concerned with who wins or loses that race. This one feels a little different. This one feels a little rebellish,
Well, and let's not forget the Kentucky Derby winner did pretty good in the Southwest last year too. So
did not do too bad. No.
So, but I guess historically, the Southwest isn't exactly the make or break race for you. But yeah, it feels like it's going to be big this year. So since it feels like it's going to be big, we probably won't get anything. Where last year the winner was like, well, it was over sloppy track and it is what it is. And then he won the Derby. So that's how it's been lately.
Yeah. Well, it'll be the two ones we're excited about running, just average, and then Sandman winning, and you're like, right. What do we do with this?
Yep.
Who is that? So again, you have the Southwest, and you got the Holy Bull, and then you got the Robert B. Lewis, and then really from there it's those are the last. Withers, Sam F. Davis, and the John Battaglia are the last 20-point races. The Sunland Derby is thrown in there in February, but the Risen Star kicks things off. That's February 15th. That's the next race, the next prep race at Fairgrounds. So that's 1 month away before those 50-point races start. So these races here are so critical. Do you know for sure, or have you seen, you being the owner of, not the real owner, but the fantasy owner of Citizen, like, is the Robert B. Lewis where they're going?
I have no idea. It could be the San Felipe as well. It's got to be one of those two, I would think. He's working pretty steadily, so I would think the Lewis could be a spot for him, but I don't know 100% for sure.
Considering the points he's got already with the win and in the juvenile, like, you got to think that he's not. It could be San Felipe, Sanity Derby, and then see you in Kentucky kind of thing. It
also could be Lewis and then Santa Anita Derby
That's
as
true.
Well, space out like that. I mean, it could be either one. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying it. You got options when you have a lot of points like that.
Yep, I agree, and I think this year is such a kind of getting ourselves back into the Baffert mode as far as accounting for the Baffert Derby horses is kind of, it's going to take a little bit of time. We haven't really had to deal with it too much yet, but as these horses start popping up again, like the Southwest, but obviously with the Robert B. Lewis, a race that you would, last year you would have 3 Bafferts, but guess what? None of them would get points. Well, this year they are. And so that's how Baffert's, like, you got to think Baffert is like, he's looking at the Derby and he's going back and saying, okay, how can I get these 5 horses there? How can I get the, 5 horses, and he's got them planned out. Like, that's the mentality. He, that guy can get a horse that, and honestly, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if he got 5 in the race. So
it would, always this time of year, he seems loaded, and then they kind of start to get hurt one by one. That's the only pause I would take on it. But yeah, he's got the horses in the barn to give it a run. He's very good about placing them and shipping them out places as well. So, he's loaded, and he's certainly going to be a presence in these early to mid preps, and then we'll just see if they can stay healthy. That's been a huge problem. Hopefully they do. I personally think it's better when Baffert's involved. That people may hate that comment, but he is kind of that household name, and I think it is better when he's got horses running.
Who is your? I guess we should just ask this. We'll just do it like starting now. I know you guys are doing it each week as well with when you do the recaps and like the fantasy stuff. Who's your number 1 Derby horse right now?
It's Citizen Bull for me. I don't I haven't. He's kind of in a placeholder for me. Like I'm ready to put somebody else in front, but I haven't seen that performance that makes me want to do it yet. So it's Citizen Bull for me. Patch Adams wins by 5 in the Southwest. I think he will be number 1. If Disco Time wins by 5 in Lecomte, I have no problem putting him number 1. But as far as 2-turn races in stakes company, I still think Citizen Bull's been better than everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like he's the juvenile champion. Someone knock him off, kind of thing. I get it. I'll go Barnes for me, just based off hype and what I think he could be. But again, he's got 0 points. He's ran two turns 0 times. So that there's that factor as well. But I do think he could shoot up to number 1 on everybody's list if he again, say he runs in the, I don't know where he's running, San Felipe next, and he wins that in similar fashion. Then all right, that's a look at the Kentucky Derby as we are just nearing it here in January 16th. We'll be back next week to talk about more.
Yeah,
what's up, Manlow? We were just talking about that race. It does feel like an odd race.
So but okay, here's the problem. When Manlow says that, he thinks every race is bombs away. So
well,
it would mean more if he thought the favorite was going to win.
When was the last favorite he played? That's the thing.
Probably like 19, whenever he was born, the day before he played a favorite.
Manlow's like, yeah, this race looks chalky, but you know me, I'm playing the long shots. Yeah. Like, okay.
No, I do tend to agree with him though. We've seen it at Fairgrounds. It has a feel of like something weird could happen. I don't disagree.
It doesn't need. It's not going to. Like I said, like we said when we previewed it, it's not really going to surprise me. I think the only thing that would really surprise me is if Disco Time didn't run like well. I think just leaving the race, I'd be like, damn, that's a bummer. Like I really thought that horse was better than that. But past that, not a lot would surprise. Like if he runs and loses, like he doesn't win but runs okay, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, yeah, I'm with you as well on that one. Do you want to talk about this Gulfstream thing or nah?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah,
okay.
Let's. I'll bring it up in the closing.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racedudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on the products page. Click the Get Race Dudes premium button at the menu at racedudes.com to learn more. Remember on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of the Blinkers Off podcast by visiting our podcast page on the site, or just go to any place you listen to podcasts. We are there, including Apple Podcasts. If you also are not doing it yet, you need to go to YouTube and search for Racing Dudes and subscribe, like, and hit those notification buttons. We do broadcast live Blinkers Off every Thursday. And so it's a good way to interact with us throughout the live, ask questions. But again, we do list this podcast after the fact on all the podcast channels. Halterman, honestly, when you sent me that text last night, I was busy I was giving the boys baths, getting ready for bed and stuff. And I kind of just glanced at it and I thought, oh, I just glanced at it. I thought this is encouraging. They're backing it for more years, or whatever, Yeah. Then I finally had a second to read it. And I'm like, oh shit, they are only committing to this many more years. And after that, it is. So let the people know what I'm talking about.
So basically right now, for Gulfstream to operate a casino, they have to have horse racing. So that's basically in the laws. You can have your casino here on the Gulfstream property, but you have to have live horse racing. First / the Stronach Group, basically, they are saying, if you don't agree to decoupling in 3 years right now, we will close the doors tomorrow, basically. So they've given the trainers the idea of, you have to agree that we're going to decouple in 3 years, meaning we can operate casinos without our casino without horse racing, or we'll just shut the doors down now, basically. So they've strong-armed the trainers basically into agreeing to, okay, 3 years from now, we'll reevaluate what happens. But in 3 years, we don't have to have horse racing to operate a casino. That's a big problem. And it's a very big problem when you look at what this company has done 2 tracks already, right? This is the company that shut down Golden Gate. This is the company that has pretty much made Laurel, they're going to shut down eventually. Same kind of situation. This is the company that has also kind of been rumored, even more than rumors of Santa Anita's in big trouble. They own them too, so I think all of us in the horse racing industry looked at it and goes, well, yeah, we lost Golden Gate. That sucks, but hey, it's just Golden Gate. Well, the thing going on at Maryland, whatever. Even to some degree, Santa Anita, which would be fatal blow, in my opinion, you can kind of see the writing on the wall. This Gulfstream thing came out of left field. I think when we look at Gulfstream as an industry, we think, well, that's a situation where it's working. That's a strong track. This would be no Gulfstream would be a big time blow to horse racing.
I mean, when you think about the handle, the handle that they do as well, Gulfstream Park. I mean, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's one of the top in it's not the top in the industry. The money they churn for any day, but especially the big days, is insane. And so the thought of like, hey, okay, if you don't want to do it, then that's fine. Well, let's not do racing anymore, is scary. And this is again a track that has caught heat. Obviously all tracks have, but it's like, I can't believe they still run horses in Florida. Like, they closed the dog tracks, and now, when's the horses come next? And it's like, it's not exactly what you want to see or hear whenever when you're talking about the future of racing in Florida. And honestly, you and I, let's not. It's not racing. Listen, we've been in the game long enough to where we can say racing is not what it used to be. Whether from our business to from the business overall, and it's just not. And it really does not. Like, in 10 years from now, I would not be surprised if we are down to less than 10 tracks that are running, as far as like, the notable tracks, not the small tracks. Like, but I'm saying, like, honestly, it would not surprise me whatsoever if we had single digit tracks.
Yeah, so I don't want to get overly negative here, but if they can do this and they execute this, think of how many tracks are tied to casinos, and if they're kind of laying out, well, here's how you get out of it, and maybe some other places could shut down as well. I mean, it's possible, because a lot of these smaller tracks are tied to casinos. The big problem, and Manlo in the chat pointed it out. He's basically saying the company is only really interested in real estate development, and then the next is like Gulfstream's one of the best tracks to visit live, and so Santa Anita. So if you've been to Gulfstream or you've been to Santa Anita, you realize that property value is immense, and there's very few places where the property is that valuable that has that much space. You think about Santa Anita and all the development they could do. It's just at the parking lot at Santa Anita. The parking lot is one of the biggest parking lots I've ever seen in my life at Santa Anita. Like, you could take 90% of the parking lot and build all kinds of, whatever you want to build there development wise. That's not even to mention to get to the racetrack part of it. Gulfstream, it's not as big. There's not as much, but the company probably looks at it and goes, we could build a huge casino and a hotel and make a shit ton of money. I mean, a shit ton of money off of it. So it's not good. And that's just all I'm going to say. Like, losing Santa Anita and losing Gulfstream is going to be awful. And look, I know we've lost Arlington and Golden Gate and Hollywood Park going a little bit further back. And that wasn't good either. I think that fails in comparison. And that's no knock on people that loved Arlington and those places. I did too, but losing Santa Anita and Gulfstream, that is way terrible. That is bad. So, and I don't know what happens to the state of Florida if that happens, but it would not be good.
I don't want to be too negative, because, we did, in the year of 2020 with COVID and everything, we were down to just a handful of tracks. I mean, horse racing was flourished, Now, again, there are a lot of other factors at play there. There's no other sports, and horse racing was it. But I think we handled the racing side of things, showed that it can work. Now, this is not addressing the hundreds or thousands of people that would be displaced based that have careers in horse racing, whether it be in stables or at the tracks or whatever. That would be a whole other thing. But when you think about it, it's like, okay, let's take tracks that I think that are safe. Are, I think Aqueduct is see ya, but Belmont and Saratoga.
Yep.
Belmont obviously is about to put a multi-billion-dollar whatever they're doing over there. Like, that's not going anywhere. And Naira is Naira. So I think Belmont at Saratoga, they might be there when we're dead. Churchill, obviously, and I think Keeneland as well probably is safe. It's Kentucky.
I think Turfway's safe too.
Turfway, and even if you want to throw in whatever it's called, Kentucky Downs. Those are like, who cares really? But that's probably safe.
Yep.
Oaklawn, I would say, is safe.
Yep.
Just based on all the expansions they've done, and just Arkansas has always really supported that.
Yep. No chance it shuts down. It's 100% safe. Yeah.
Past that, Del Mar, who knows with Del Mar?
Yeah, I think if Santa Anita shuts down, I don't know. Could they do a Los Al Del Mar back and forth? I don't know. I'm worried about Del Mar. Yeah.
You got to think they would keep one track out there, right?
Yeah. Nick mentions Louisiana. I think those tracks are. I think Fairgrounds is safe. I'm worried about tracks that are highly attached with casinos, but I think the state of Louisiana wants to run, so that's good.
So I am curious. I'll ask real quick, and I just want to see people in the chat just to kind of give their real quick thoughts. Do you think that the constriction of tracks over the next 5 to 10 years is ultimately a good thing for the sport?
I think short term, yes. Long term, no, is how I would answer it. So the people that like racing right now are still going to like racing when they constrict, and the fields are going to be better. The betting product's going to be better. Everything's going to kind of improve from that standpoint. Now, you're going to have job loss, and that's never good. But the overall horse racing, I think people have a little bit easier time kind of following it, knowing there's just a limited amount of places you could bet. So that part is good, but this is where the bad part comes in. The job loss obviously is one. Think of the markets that are going to shrink. So, okay, we've got the fans that are into it now. Fans fade out, or they die, or they fade out.
Yeah, both.
Okay, the kid that's 15 or 16 and his dad goes to the track every day in San Francisco. Now he's not going. That kid's not going to know what horse racing is. You lose the Miami market, and you lose the LA market. All these markets, how are you going to develop these new fans? It is strictly now, it is 100% as a betting thing. I mean, I know it's a betting proposition overall, but I do think people underestimate going to the track and that habit and seeing your parents or whatever, and seeing, or your friends even, and knowing what horse racing is and it's fun and all that. You just keep shrinking these markets. You don't have Chicago hardly anymore. You got Hawthorne. I guess that a little bit, but you lose that a little bit with Arlington gone. You lose San Francisco. Like I said, you're going to lose Miami. You're going to lose LA. You can't keep losing those major markets. And it's going to be a regional thing. It's going to be Kentucky. That's still popular. Oaklawn down at Arkansas, that's still popular. Up at New York, it's still popular. But you're shrinking, and that's not good. Overall, that is not good.
Yeah, it's I think you're right. The short term is probably fine. The long term is, I do think if you could somehow make it where you had like 10 to 12 solid tracks, I think it increases the chances of, like you said, following, but also like making it into more of like like we all want, right? A commission type thing that oversees the horse racing, where you have these 12 tracks and they're all, like segmented and in divisions or whatever. Like when you have so many tracks out there that have so much differences and the ability to control all of them, and it's impossible. And if you constrict it, you could maybe increase the chances of some sort of like overall kind of commission group to run it,
I think the problem I don't think your idea is wrong, but I think the problem is the tracks that you would want to see shut down, or not want to see, but you would think, okay, it's necessary to shut this place down. That's not the ones that are going away. Under your proposition, you certainly wouldn't want to not have Santa Anita and Gulfstream, right?
Yeah.
Like those are your pillars. Those are the tracks you want to build up even better than they are, because maybe you shut down a smaller track like a Turf Paradise. It's going to shut down anyway, so let's just use it. Turf Paradise can be gone soon. Okay, but now you can kind of strengthen the California market and kind of ride a little bit cheaper races on a weekday for those type of horses and get bigger fields and a better betting product. But under your situation, you want those strong markets. You want to still be in them. Where here, if this actually does go down like this, I guess everybody's going to go to Tampa in Florida, and I guess maybe we can have that. If Santa Anita shuts down, do they go to Oaklawn maybe? And I don't know, like the unknown is really scary to me. Where, like said, if we're going to shut down Turf Paradise, well, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get through it. I like Will Rogers, but if you're going to shut down Will Rogers, well, we can move on from that. But shutting down Gulfstream and shutting down Santa Anita is it is just not good.
I think a big thing for me that I always fall back on whenever, it's like, oh yeah, this is bleak and, this is closing, or they're cutting back dates or whatever. Like,
yeah,
I get, all the updates and emails and stuff from like, this horse just sold for $1 million at stud. And then this, the breeding rights for this is 500,000 or whatever. Like, so like, and let's just not mistake this. Like, the money in this game is on that side, and we haven't seen it yet. But you also wonder, like, will they start sending? They already are sending horses overseas, but like, will it be more geared towards breeding for overseas? Because obviously that market is not going anywhere. But that part is where I think you start to get really concerned if and when you start seeing whether sales dip. Because like, let's think of the money, think of the amount of money, and not just the money, but like you look at Kentucky, if you go to Louisville or Lexington, and you see all the farms.
Yeah,
that's a whole financial like industry. Like that would take out part of Kentucky.
Yep.
If that industry failed. And so it's like, that's hard to imagine. And obviously what's gearing that? Well, it's running on the track, right? It's getting stakes wins. It's getting, these sires to do well. And so that all kind of works together. And so until that starts to happen, I still, in my mind, feel like these guys, these owners, the breeders, like you got to think like, we've got to fix this problem, or else what we are breeding for is not going to exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of what you said, I mean, all of it's true, but a lot of what you said plays to the fact of what we were talking about. I don't think this sport's ever going away fully unless it's some kind of government shutdown, right? Because there's too much money and there are too many places where horse racing is doing well and people actually do want to run horses. So, we talked about those tracks. So yeah, but to your point, if we lose tracks and we consolidate and there isn't as many places to run, that means lack of ownership. Like, what if I live out in California and I like to go watch my horses run at Santa Anita, and then I can't go watch my horses run? Well, I'm going to get out of the ownership business. Well, maybe that's an owner that is buying from these, in the auctions from these breeding farms. So the breeding is going to start to shrink as well. And it already has, but it's going to even further. And then what? I think the problem, like from us, like, okay, so we have been full-time at this for 10 years. This is our 11th year. The business has been around, or the website's been around about 15, 14. But as far as us being, this is our jobs, this is our 11th year. And I think from our standpoint, we're looking at it and we're going, okay, racing's already losing market share as it is to sports wagering. And now you're going to constrict it like tracks. And I think from our standpoint, we're looking at it as like, what is this really going to look like long term? So I don't think this site will ever be gone, because I do think there's enough interest in horse racing that we can still make money and be around. But is it a part-time gig 10 years from now? What is it? Right? Like, we've been very lucky. This is a full-time gig, but does racing become like the dog tracks or the harness tracks, where it's like, yeah, there's people into it and we can do it, but we're out delivering Uber Eats for the rest of the time. I mean, not that it's going to get to that bad. And I'm not saying it's going to, but we've kind of seen it. Like, when we were kids, dog tracks were everywhere, and dog tracks were more popular. My parents went to dog track, my grandparents. Nobody knows what a dog track is anymore unless they live right next to the track, right? So and I don't really believe horse racing is going down that road, because there is more money and it's more prestigious. But at the same time, it just kind of feels like we might head more towards that model than the current model that we're at.
Yeah, for sure. One, I don't think I'd be very good at Uber Eats. I just don't.
No, but if your kids are hungry, so again, I don't think it's getting to that point. But
Kevin, to answer your question, I don't have a fallback. I am looking personally for a sugar mama, is what I am in the market, obviously. So I have kind of consolidated all my search for 50-plus-year-old women, typically divorcees, maybe widows, that have gotten a lot of money. That's what I'm looking for right now. So that's kind of the fallback plan.
And I want to highlight this. I should be laughing. That's really funny, but I was concentrating on this. This is a good point. He said, Dick Seaver says, if NBC doesn't renew Breeders' Cup, we'll have a clear idea of what the future looks like. And they said Kentucky Derby is hot property, 100% true. Breeders' Cup nobody wants, 100% true. I'm telling you right now, guys, and look, I am very lucky that I know a couple guys that have a great show on VSiN, and they had me on once a week, and it's fun. But what I'm getting at is, if it's not Kentucky Derby week, nobody in that whole network gives a shit. And that is a network specifically for betting, 24/7 betting network, and racing is talked about 1 week out of the year.
Yeah.
I'm talking, they don't care about the Preakness. They don't care about the Belmont. 99% of the network doesn't even know what the Breeders' Cup is, other than the two guys that I know and They don't. The Travers is not a thing for people. Like, they don't care. They don't even want 30 minutes of content on horse racing on their network. It's not good.
I mean, they'll talk about the, let's see, in August, golf and baseball, like series, the series matchups between such and such over the Travers, Yeah, that's just reality.
And if NBC, my whole point is, if NBC drops the Breeders' Cup, okay, who picks it up? I would guess it's going to be like FanDuel only, right? FanDuel TV. And I think, FanDuel will do a good job with it, but who's watching FanDuel? People that already are into horse racing.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I'm a college football fan and my team is playing, and I might turn it on that channel 15, 20 minutes before my team plays, and I go, oh, well, this is kind of cool. And I at least I know that there's a big event, I don't know. So.
Well, this is ending on a positive note here.
Yeah, I don't want to get it too negative. I just, but it's hard not to go negative when, and again, the Santa Anita problem is a huge problem, and I hate it, and I do not want it to go away. But you can look at Santa Anita day after day and go, they're not getting a lot of horses. It's not what it used to be. you can see it coming. But this Gulfstream thing really threw me for a loop because that is something that you felt like was solid.
Yeah, and it is. I mean,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and you look at the trainers that you know, I call that home. You know, which why wouldn't you? It's South Florida. It's beautiful there. The weather's the same all year, and it's great. So, why would you not? And so a lot of these guys, like, that's just, you know, and you know, and you really feel for, like, we can pivot. Like, if racing shuts down there, well, we'll focus more on Oaklawn, and, you know, we, not to say we don't already, but you know what I mean. Like, we cover the whole sport. Whereas if you are a trainer that not a Todd Pletcher trainer, but just a small trainer at Gulfstream Park who does enough to make, you know, to have a decent year, and that's what your livelihood is, then what? You know, like, what's your plan? You know, and so it is. There's certainly people that are more fearful, and for good reason, than we are. It's you know, we've never had this. We kind of never been presented with this issue until recently in the sport. You know, it's always felt like, like when we first started out, it was like, and that's just how we got to be so big. Is that, you know, constantly was like, well, this could be this could be that. Like, let's just keep going. Like, imagine if it gets, you know, it's going to be huge. And then it's like, okay, now you start understanding expectations. Like, okay, well, it's never going to be that, but it's still really, really good. Like, it was still solid. And then you're like, oh shit, like, the thing we cover is dying. So then what? You know, who knows? Maybe someone will come in and fix it all and save it. I don't know, but
I think, you know, like John White, for example, and people his age or close to his age, they talk about the day when racing was like this massive thing, right? And when we first started, we didn't know what that felt like or what that was, so we were just like, that's just old people talking. And I'm not making fun of people. I'm just saying, you know, every older person's like, oh, it was better back in my day, right? But we only knew what it was during our day, and it was what it was. Then COVID happened, and then we saw what horse racing could be that they saw back in their, like, when in their prime days of covering it, right? We saw it. We're like, oh my God, this could be huge. And then COVID was gone and it dropped. And then we saw the glimpse through their eyes for the first time of, oh, this is what it should be like, and this is what it is. And that's why I think personally I never had a negative attitude towards it until I saw what it could be, and then us drop the ball again, and then we just don't have any power or way to do anything about it, and that's when you get bitter about it.
Yeah, well, that's just it. And again, you go through the chat here, and there's all kinds of comments and about do this, and what, you know, if he did this, it's like, it's great, and I don't necessarily disagree with most of it, but it's like, it doesn't mean anything, you know. And I don't mean to be negative, but because we say the same things, where it's like, at the end of the day, what can we change, you know? You know, it's out of our hands. And frankly, it's out of people with millions and millions of dollars hands, because at the end of the day, it's these track ownerships, and they're all separate. Well, for the most part, and it's kind of what they want to do. You know, it's you know.
Well, and the big problem, if I own something and I think I can make money much easier with less costs doing something different.
Yeah. What are you?
I mean, that's I don't really know what to say to that, you know?
Yeah, if you're Gulfstream and you say, okay, well, you know, we could continue to run here and it costs the X amount, or we continue to have a casino here and we develop out everything else behind it with apartments and condos and things like that. I mean, there you go.
Yeah, all of a sudden I've got a hotel, a casino, apartment buildings. I'm 2 blocks from the Atlantic Ocean, and it's just a money making machine.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit. It's but with that in mind, guys, there are several tracks out there, several, Naira, um, Oakland and Kentucky are the specific ones that I still do think can drive the industry. Now, what that industry looks like, I don't know. I do not know. Will it be what it used to be? No. I mean, but is it still something that we can get behind and really feel the same that it does now? Maybe, I don't know, but I do still have confidence that it's not like TikTok where Sunday is going to go away supposedly.
No.
It's not something that 2026 all of a sudden there's just no racing and we just don't know what to do. But someone like me who has this entrepreneurial spirit where it's like we got to this point where it's like, okay, well, let's make it better, let's fix it. If that's not working, let's fix it. Let's grow this. And it's like when you kind of feel like your hands are tied. I think a lot of us feel that way in a sport that we love. We're like, I don't want to see it go away, but at the same time, I don't know what to do. And so you're almost just sitting there watching it happen is hard. And so, again, hopefully something changes. Hopefully, we get some positive news overall. But it is a bummer for sure.
Well, the good news is, like you said, it's not going away completely, and we're going to be here to cover it. And we'll do what we do. And like I said, it's we've had to adjust over the years to certain things, and we'll adjust again. Hey, if they make a mega track there at Tampa, we'll be there to cover it. So there's a lot of people in the game that aren't going to go away, and that's hopefully it all works out. Hopefully still be going.
I mean, you could spend like $1 million or billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars on horses to breed them in the racing industry go away. That could happen. So it could be worse. But again, like Justify and horses like that have been breeding overseas anyways. So I mean, they know what they're doing. But Kevin, she doesn't even know what TikTok. I don't think it's. I do believe it's TikTok actually is not going to go away. I did hear that whether it be Congress is going to do something, or whether it be Trump comes in, or someone buys it. But it just, again, and it's similar, I guess, in some ways. You just think, well, horse racing can't go away. Like, it just can't all the way. It's kind of how I feel with TikTok. It's like, it just can't just like not exist tomorrow. But as of right now, that's kind of what it feels like, or at least what's at least that's what's on the board. So we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't been following that, but too much. But I did read that it might happen, so that'll be interesting. See if it.
Yeah, it's a whole. China. It's weird. Like, so it's basically most people say about TikTok. It's like Chinese spyware basically. And China doesn't want to sell it because they don't want to get rid of the algorithm, which is, if anybody that's ever used TikTok knows what I'm talking about. The algorithm is insane. So you could be thinking about something, and all of a sudden, all of the videos are related to that. It's like, it seems like TikTok doesn't want to sell it for that reason. But there have been a lot of buyers in the U.S., like guys like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. He's one of many. Elon Musk has threw his name in the hat. Mr. Beast, even with amongst other billionaires, wanting to buy it, but and even saying like, hey, we don't want the algorithm, we want the users, the platform. You can keep your algorithm, we'll do our own social algorithm. And as of now, the China doesn't want to deal with it. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. The government is still going to, I think, might step in, might be last resort to say, hey, at least give an extension of the deadline, like, hey, we got, maybe get Trump in office and figure out all that stuff. But like the way that it was put together was not accidental, that the closure of it would be the 19th and the inauguration is the 20th.
Right.
So, there's a lot of other political factors at play here, but again, it is weird to think that all of a sudden this social platform that is just monstrous, is just huge, is just could go away. So, but I do think we'll see. Sunday is supposedly the day that, it will start, and then the end of, I guess, Sunday is when it would end. But officially, you'd log on to you'd get on the app, and it would just nothing would load. That's what they say. So we'll find out.
So it's Sunday is when it's supposed to happen. So
the 19th.
Okay.
The 19th is the day. So
12:01 a.m. on Sunday.
I don't know specifically. I heard kind of it was going to be more of a slow thing, like it would happen over the day on Sunday.
Okay.
So I have no idea.
All right.
But everyone's just it's planning for the end on TikTok. Saying goodbye to your Chinese spy is what I've seen. So we'll see though. It seems like I can't remember what the number was I saw. It was like 20 some billion or something it's accounted for.
Yeah. Sometimes he just says things and they shouldn't be that funny, but they are,
It'll go dark. It's it is insane though. It's like a lot of people think TikTok is just and it is, it's a social platform, but man, the amount of businesses that have used it to create businesses for slew, again, it's a $24 billion industry or whatever it is in the US. It's 20 plus billion. It's like that's a lot of small businesses that are depending on TikTok. And so that's why it's such a huge, if it was just some bullshit, like, if it's Twitter or something, when Twitter was like going to sell and then Elon is buying, it's like, no one gave a shit really.
Yeah.
But here it's like, this is like a closing down an industry. So, that's a social platform. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday, but my bet is it's not going anywhere. So at least not permanently. Maybe it shuts down and then Trump comes in and they do something to figure it out. I don't know, but can't imagine it being gone forever.
No, I can't either. That would be shocking.
But okay, well, TikTok or horse racing, which goes away first? Make sure you use that. Use that in the comments below.
I think TikTok.
And let us know. Dudes Who Bet Sports, go check those guys out. Halterman and your dad, you guys just recorded that a little bit ago, talking, of course, about the divisional games, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And the upcoming playoffs, the national championship. So, what are your thoughts on that? Are you surprised by the championship game? Who's in it?
No, I'm not surprised. Notre Dame getting there. I mean, that was a little surprising, but they've been pretty darn good all year. You kind of knew the SEC was a little bit down, so I'm not really surprised that they're not in it. I really think the Ohio State will win, and I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, but I think it'll be a comfortable victory for the Buckeyes.
They've dominated, I feel like, this playoff run, and it just seems like it's the games have been good. These last couple have been good though. So we were kind of being critical of this, how some of them were, but they've been good lately. So let me see. Chiefs. I'm trying to think. I'll go Chiefs, Detroit. What's the other one?
Rams or Philly?
Philly, and that game, man.
Bills Ravens. Yeah.
That's a great game. Probably Bills, but hoping for the Ravens. Love to see the Ravens, but
we're on the same four. I took the Bills.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hell of a game, though.
Yep, I can't wait for it. I think the 2 games Saturday got a chance to maybe not be blowouts, but be comfortable wins. I do think the Rams Philly game is interesting, but I think Philly's just a better team. Flip a coin for the Bills Ravens. I took the Bills, but wouldn't be surprised either way. I trust Josh Allen just a little bit more, so I took the Bills.
Do you know when the actual voting took place for the MVP?
I think it's already taken place, but I do not know that for sure.
See, I think it has too, but wouldn't this be this needs to be whoever wins MVP is who wins this game?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people say that, and I don't know why I guess it's the MVP of the regular season is what it's supposed to be. So that's why they've already voted. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice because whoever wins the MVP might lose this game, and it's like, how does that make any sense? You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I still believe that it's. I mean, but again, it's turned into a stat award. It's not an MVP award. It's a stat award, you know, and Lamar does kind of dominate those stats. Now, if you take away Lamar and you take away Josh Allen from those teams, I think Buffalo might have like 3 or 4 wins. Like I just think he is so critical to what that team has done.
Yep.
So in the definition of MVP, I do feel like he's MVP, but I would not be surprised. I think the odds have really gone forward Lamar as of late, and so wouldn't be surprised if Lamar gets what is 3rd now. So
Yep.
And has a good chance of losing again in the divisional round.
It's crazy that he's going to have 3 MVPs, and if they lose, you know, to the Bills, which it's 50-50. That's 50-50 game. 3 MVPs, 2 playoff victories.
Yeah, as I said, more MVPs and playoff wins by the end of the career. That's very possible.
It is. I think. I don't know. I feel like last year it all set up for him and he didn't get it done, but I do feel like this team is very good. They've got a chance, but I can't trust the Ravens until I see him do it. And I really can't trust him fully until I see him do it. So as good as he's been this year, I don't know. I don't trust him in this game.
Well, it's interesting because you got 2 teams that have, I mean, let's be honest, have folded in the playoffs typically against the Chiefs, but it has been against other teams as well. Again, both guys don't have great playoff records. They do in the wild card round. Great wild card round players.
Yep.
Divisional, we'll see. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me either way, to be honest with you. So, you know, it will be nice to not have. Last year the Chiefs had to go and play both of those teams, so it is nice to get one of them out.
Yep.
But either way, that game will be a hell of a game, assuming the Chiefs. I see a lot of people are like getting sneaky, like, oh, I think the Texans are going to upset the Chiefs. Like,
no chance.
No chance. I don't. I mean, listen, I'm a homer. I get it, but I just don't. I don't see it.
I'm a hater. No chance. I mean, I'm not a hater, but I'm not a fan. But I mean, if it would be a massive upset in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I think people need to be careful. And again, I was so wrong about the Rams. It's unbelievable last week. But remember the Rams and remember the Texans all throughout the season. Don't go just nuts because of those games. They both played very good last week. I'm not taking anything away from them. But remember, are they really that team from last week, or are they more kind of what we saw for them on a 17-game season? You know, and that's kind of my worry with both those teams. I don't know that they can match up and actually win a game like what they're facing with Philly taking on the Rams, and then of course Houston and the Chiefs.
Well, and let's not I don't want to take credit against, like, I thought, you know, Houston defense has been, for the most part, this comes from somebody that had them in fantasy for a lot of the year. Like, they are solid for most of the year. Like, they're legit. I mean, Herbert definitely helped them that game. Let's just put it that way. Like, for the first half of the game or more, I was like, I texted you, I was like, these 2 teams are in the playoffs. Like, that's happening. Like, you know, either one looked good. And then the picks started coming in just droves, and then, you know, the game shifted, and of course, like, but I don't think that that's going to happen against the Chiefs. So, you know, if Mahomes throws 4 picks, then maybe, but I don't think he's going to throw 4 picks. So, no, give me the Chiefs. I think it's comfortable. I think it's Chiefs, so it's probably like 10-point win or something like that.
Yeah, that's the one pause. They have trouble covering games, but it is a playoff, you know. So I don't know that's gonna be like a blowout, but I don't think you're gonna be like, hey, they may lose this game in the second half. I don't think you're gonna feel like that.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. All right, guys. It's obviously big weekend of horse racing and sports, so stay tuned for that, and we'll get our reactions next week. All right. Until next time, guys, we appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.